Hello and welcome to the Western States Metal Roofing channel. My name is Paul Rubio. I'm the Vice President and one of the owners of Western States Metal Roofing. On a daily basis, we get asked this question: how much does corrugated metal roofing cost? In this video, we're going to find out. The short answer is the installed complete price of your corrugated metal roof will be about $6 to $9 a square foot. However, it's not that simple. In this video, we'll discuss the different factors that will affect the price of your corrugated metal roof, such as installation cost, material cost, thickness or gauge of the steel, finish of the panels, the size of the job, and fluctuations in the steel market. One thing to keep in mind is the installation cost is the vast majority of what your roof will cost. So if you were to go with a heavier gauge or to go with a better paint finish, such as a Kynar versus an S&P, it's really going to have a very minimal impact on your overall budget. Where you can save a lot of money is by shopping the installation price. You'll get the most bang for your buck by spending more time getting multiple prices on your installer versus multiple pricing on your panel cost. Generally speaking, most manufacturers charge a very similar price range, somewhere between the same price and maybe a 10 to 15% variance. So this leads to the question, what gauge should I use for my metal roof? Well, the first thing is, gauge is kind of confusing. The lower the number, the heavier the gauge. So for example, 24 gauge is heavier than 26 gauge. Now, once we realize that, it comes down to the lightest gauge that you can buy is 29 gauge, the heaviest gauge is 20 gauge. But that's a little misleading. 29 gauge is a really bad investment. You only save about 10 to 15 cents a square foot, but you end up with a product that's not long lasting, doesn't hold up well to snow loads, and would be problematic in high wind conditions. On the other side of the equation is a heavy gauge steel like a 20 gauge. There's just no reason for it if it's going to sit on a solid wood substrate. Now, if the material was spanning purlin to purlin, then you might need to go with a heavier gauge. So for the purpose of this conversation, in all likelihood, you should use a 24 or a 26 gauge roof. Now, the cost difference between a 26 and a 24 gauge is about 25 to 35%, with the 24 gauge being more expensive. Okay, there are four types of finishes you generally see on a corrugated metal roof. The least expensive would be a galvanized or galvalume finish. This is going to be bright and shiny and generally used on commercial, agricultural, somewhere where you don't want to spend any money and the appearance doesn't really matter. The next option would be a painted product in what they call an SMP paint finish. What an SMP paint finish is, it's a very nice paint finish. It's got a good paint warranty, but it works better when you have neutral colors, a tan, a white, something along those lines. When you get into bright and vibrant colors, you want to upgrade your paint finish and go with a Kynar paint finish. Not a huge difference in cost, but the pigments in the paint, it will fade at a much less rapid pace when you go with Kynar versus S&P. So really the rule of thumb is two things. What's your budget, and do you have a neutral color or a bright and vibrant color? The final type of paint finish is what's called a designer or specialty paint print, and what it really is, it's new steel that's painted to look old. So for example, if you wanted the look of a rusted roof, without the problems of a real rusted roof, we would give you a paint finish that's got an orange-brown rust. Same thing with copper. If you had a copper roof and didn't want to pay $10 or $15 a square foot, we can give you a painted product that looks like it's been out to the weather and it's turned green, brown, or whatever other color you wanted. The final type of designer print would be something that is more of like an old weathered gray. Those have become very popular. The single best way to save money on the corrugated material itself is where you purchase the material. Generally, there's three options. You can purchase directly from the manufacturer. You can purchase from a metal supplier that does not manufacture the material itself, distributor as they call it, or from the roofing contractor itself. Now, unfortunately, most manufacturers will not sell direct to the public. At Western States Metal Roofing, we will sell direct to you, and I'm sure there are other manufacturers that will do the same thing. There is a downside to purchasing direct from the manufacturer, and that is you need to provide a materials list. You need to tell the manufacturer exactly what you need. how many panels at what length, what type of trim, the pitch of your trim, fasteners, etc. If you don't know what you need to either rely on your roofing installer or you should buy from a distributor. That would probably be a better fit for you. The second way to buy metal roofing is through a distributor. Now the downside of a distributor is they'll normally mark up the material 15 to 50%. However, if you do not know what you need, it's a very good option and it's money well spent because they'll help you provide a materials list to the manufacturer. The final way to get a price on corrugated roofing is just to get it directly from your roofing contractor. Now, generally a roofing contractor, when they bid a job, they'll give you a total price, material plus installation. I would recommend against that. What I would recommend is that you get a price on the material yourself, and there's three main reasons for this. The first reason is, number one, you don't know if their price was a good price to start with. Were they dealing directly with the manufacturer or were they going through a distributor that put a markup on it and then the contractor puts another markup on it? The other reason it's important is when you go through your contractor, you're stuck with the colors that they offer you. Whereas if you source the material yourself, you've got a much wider selection of colors to pick from. And the other thing is it makes it easier to compare your bids. If everybody's giving you an install price only, it's just easier to sort out your installation cost on your roof. The size of the job will have a major impact on the cost of your metal roof. Now this will affect both the material cost and the installation cost. Generally what you're going to see is a very small job could be double or triple, and I would say anything under 500 square feet is where you'll start to see big price differences. Once you get over 1,000 square feet, the price differences are actually pretty minimal. If you were to take a 1,000 square foot job and a 10,000 square feet job, it would probably only be a 10 to 20% difference. Another thing that could affect the cost of your corrugated roof is the steel market itself. When we buy steel, every time we issue a purchase order, the price is different. Now, normally they're very minor differences, but once in a while there's things like tariffs or just general changes to the market where our price could go up 15 to 30% overnight, and unfortunately we have to pass on those costs to our customers. Another big part of your cost will be the trim, flashings, and accessories. Every job is going to have screws. You're probably going to have foam closure, sealing tape, and the most expensive part would be your trim and flashing. Generally speaking, at a minimum, most jobs have eave, gable, and ridge cap, and in many cases quite a bit more. A rule of thumb would be take the overall material cost, not the installed cost of the job, but the material cost, and add maybe 25 to 35%, and that'll be a good ballpark estimate of what your trim and accessories will cost. If this video helped you, we're going to ask one favor of you. Please hit the like button for us and subscribe if you like our channel.